Hello, 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 everybody. I know it's been quite a while, but I definitely wanted to check in and give my update on the Meg and Tory case because it's good out here and the tea is real in these streets. But I do want to preface and say that excuse me, I have a little bit of a cold. So if you hear me coughing or if I go on mute for a second, it's because I want to cough and I don't want to be in y'all ear with that. But I did want to update you guys on my thoughts on the case now that we've had not only Kelsey testify, but we've also had Sean Kelly testify in the case. And so we have a little bit more meat to chew on. And because of that, I'm like, oh, it'll be a good time to come and give my update. So here's what I'm thinking really happened. And of course, I like to take my perspective from the prosecution side and then also from the defense side, just to kind of see what could have happened. And if I was in the jury box, what would my interpretation be of what's transpired thus far? So we know that when Kelsey took the stand, I feel like her entire demeanor, the way she answered the questions, her posture, her tone, her her goal almost, I think was to create a sense of confusion and chaos about the situation. And I think that that confusion and chaos will only serve to help Tory Lanez in the situation. Because one of the biggest things you need when you're trying to defend a criminal, if he is guilty, if you're trying to defend a criminal as an attorney, the thing you want to lean in most to is reasonable doubt. You want to lean into the fact that there was no motive. You want to create some sort of confusion in the case where the jury cannot definitively come to a conclusion. And I think when you have Kelsey on the stand giving witness testimony and she's saying things like, I plead the fifth. Well, I don't want to incriminate myself. Well, I don't remember. Well, I was really drunk. Well, I can't really say, or I'm not sure. But when you ask her very specific questions like, did you shoot Megan? It's that's ridiculous. It's not, no, I firmly and definitively did not shoot Megan because I know who did shoot her. It's no, I ain't shoot Megan. Well, who shot her? I don't know. And so there's only really two conclusions you can draw from that. And those conclusions get almost more solidified now that we have Sean Kelly taking the stand, saying that he saw three oh, excuse me, hold on. Yeah, so those conclusions get more definitive when you have someone like Sean Kelly taking the stand, saying that he saw three people jumping Megan The Stallion: the driver, Kelsey, and Tory. He said all three of them was fighting her, and it appeared as if they wanted to kill her and drag her into the river. That was some very damaging testimony for him to give. And it further corroborates, if you really think about it, Kelsey's testimony of being unsure of who shot Megan. Because one thing we don't know is why this driver has not been called in by either the prosecution or the defense to take the stand and testify to what he saw that night and what happened. Up until today, that driver has largely been kind of out of the situation and almost like an innocent bystander who just was doing his job and minding his business. When in reality, he is presented by Sean Kelly as an antagonizer, which, if we really listen to Kelsey's testimony, could almost insinuate that perhaps the driver could have been the shooter of Meg The Stallion. Tory could have been the shooter of Meg The Stallion. Because even though that Sean Kelly is saying he knew it was the shorter guy who did it, we still have time of day, which is really late. We have him admitting in open court that he was distracted because he said something about trying to get his son to come into the room. So even that split second where you're distracted introduces where were you fully able to see what happened? How well lit was the area? Initially you say the gun muzzle flash went off closest to the female, but then someone else takes the gun and shoots her. It's almost like, and then Kelsey gives that testimony and says, well, I don't want to incriminate myself. We got to remember she said that. So for her to say, I don't want to incriminate myself, she's almost admitting and corroborating, even though she may not have intended to, she's almost corroborating Sean Kelly's testimony about her being the first person who drew the trigger that night, because she admits to not wanting to incriminate herself. So maybe she did launch the first shot, only to almost as if it's like, I want to be the one who does it. Like, I want the clout. I want to be the one responsible for taking her out. And the fact that he said it appeared as though they wanted to drag her into the river, and the fact that the driver is saying, "Yo, the cops are coming," almost is given very much so that possibly a hit could have been put out on Meg The Stallion. And I know a lot of people are not talking about that. A lot of people are not bringing that up. But everything that I'm hearing about this case thus far is leading me down that path to believe that this was a premeditated crime. It was an intent, in my opinion, to get her to Kylie Jenner's house, get her drunk, know that if she got drunk, she might get a little bit out of control, lose her sense of awareness about her surroundings. And if that kind of if you could disarm someone in that manner, you can start a fight, instigate a fight, and that could lead to a very hostile situation in which a weapon is drawn and someone is assaulted. I'm almost getting setup vibes. Like, now that I'm starting to hear everything, I'm getting this was a planned attack. Like, maybe they ain't know who was gonna do it, who was gonna take her out, who was gonna be responsible. But it's almost like there was a plan for somebody to end her that night, and it didn't go the way they expected it to go because there was an eyewitness to this whole situation who called 911. And maybe the driver got a tip like, "Yo, the cops been called, time to pack it up and roll it out." And they're like, "Yo, everybody get in the car, let's bounce, let's bounce. It's getting too crazy right now. Like, this not going the way it's supposed to go." But what's interesting to me is that Meg The Stallion, as one female, is being beat up and attacked by three people, and she's still holding her own. She's still swinging and throwing bows. Like, she was really out there fighting for her life, if we believe what Sean Kelly said. And honestly, when you have someone coming into the case who is not going from blog to blog to blog trying to get his name out there, he's not trying to gain clout, he's not trying to put himself on, he's literally been in the background minding his good business and did not come out and say anything until it was time to come into open court. So to me, that testimony becomes incredibly compelling, and it becomes something that I could put a lot of validity into if I were in the jury box. I'm really paying attention to what this man is saying because I'm looking at how he moved. Like, he's been very low key. He came in, he said what he said, he's leaving. Like, his story seems relatively consistent to what Kelsey said, because Kelsey says that she, allegedly she was missing a patch of hair. She had bruises all over her body. Well, that's pretty consistent with the guy saying both of them were pulling each other's hair and getting into a nasty brawl. That seems very consistent. Now, what's inconsistent is we have Kelsey on video sitting on the stoop out, once the police arrive, and she says, "Megan, are you okay? Megan, are you okay?" The way that she's saying it is almost of like, I say, like, almost like, I'm glad it wasn't successful. Like, "Yo, Megan, like, confirm with me that you're good." Like, her tone in that moment wasn't of fear. Her tone to me was of confirmation. Like, "Megan, are you okay? Like like babe, you good? Like, are you good?" Like, it was very matter of fact. It wasn't like, "Oh my God, I'm about to go get arrested. I done shot my friend. Oh my God, I'm out here wilding." Like, yo, they acting me like it was no fear. In my opinion, her tone didn't have fear. And the fact that her tone didn't have fear, it had more so confirmation, leads me to believe that maybe it was something supposed to go down. Maybe Kelsey was the one who was supposed to do it. She also said in her testimony that LA give her anxiety, that she don't really care to be there, that she don't like coming to LA, that the vibes is weird out there. It could have been a situation where it was supposed to be Kelsey who carried out that hit on Meg. And because her loyalty was so strong to Megan, because the love could have been there so much, she might have fought her, but not have been able to fully execute what needed to be done that night. And that's when Tory stepped in. That's when the driver stepped in. And I know this may seem like a little bit of a conspiracy theory, or like, excuse me, or like a wild accusation, but I find it incredibly suspicious that all of this went down at a night of like private partying at Kylie Jenner's house. And I hate to bring them up in the situation, but something about it just really gives me a little bit of the heebie jeebies. Like, how is it that we're having a good time at this girl house? We all getting drunk, we partying, we leave, and now we out here trying to take each other out. You know, like people say that in Hollywood or whatever you want to call it, there are rituals, there are sacrifices. I don't know it to be true, but if we go down that rabbit hole, it's like, did she cast some type? Kylie, did Kylie cast some type of spell that night, like, to create chaos? Kylie was in Meg The Stallion video. Like sometimes when you want to harvest someone's energy or you want to harvest their notoriety and their fame in order to grow your own, and if you've ever gone down the conspiracy TikTok lane, then you know what I'm talking about. But if you want to harvest your energy, harvest the energy of someone else to grow your own fame and notoriety, well, is it possible to believe that Kylie Jenner was doing a ritual that night and was like, "Yo, I'm about to cast a spell of chaos and disbarment of friendship that could possibly lead to the death of Meg The Stallion so that I can harvest her up and coming budding fame in order to continue to grow my career." And that may seem a little wild to some people, but hey, look, gotta put it out there because you just never know. Like I feel like with everything that's going on and how crazy this situation is, it's like how many avenues should we really go down? So that's one theory. Another theory is like, well, why would Tory want to shoot Meg? It's like, is he dealing with some sexuality issues? And I don't know that he is, but for you to pull out a whole weapon on a female because she's arguing with you about your music career, that by far is either toxic masculinity or it's fear of homosexuality. One of the two. That's the vibe I'm getting from it because no homosexual male goes from arguing with a female to throwing hands with a female to pulling a whole gun on a female. That level of escalation only happens if you are dealing with a female made man. Like how they say it, he a itch or he itch made. I ain't gonna say the curse word. Hi, Lit Liquor. Yeah, they said that Kelsey pulled the gun out first. That's the theory, Lit Liquor, that Kelsey pulled the gun out first. And that's what Sean Kelly is saying too, that he saw the female shoot first. And that goes back to my speculative theory about it being a hit on Meg. Like they all was like, yo, we supposed to carry this out tonight. Like they was all in on it and Kelsey couldn't finish the job. And then Tory jumps out and he like, well, fuck it, I'll do it. Like, and then he's shooting, but Meg is like moving, on the defense, or they not sure if somebody watched it. And somehow the plan didn't go according to plan. But you got to be a real female made man for that level of progression. It's not like Sean Kelly came and testified and said it was like a heat of the moment thing. Like, oh, I came outside and he was just shooting, and the guy don't know what led up to that. Like, oh, I looked out my window. Next thing I know, I saw a little short guy pum pum puming. That would be different. But the fact that he said they were jumping her prior to the shooting leads me to believe you a whole female for that. Like, what man, two men at that, the driver and Tory, is jumping one woman? That is almost something that you would never see happen. Like, how is Meg The Stallion a Herculean female? Like, do you understand how much strength you have to be drunk and still trying to fight three whole people and you one person and you're drunk and you're in a bikini and you're not armed, and you're in the middle of a place you're not familiar with? Something about it just seems incredibly off and incredibly suspicious. Something about it just not sitting in my spirit right. It's not sitting in my spirit right. And the vibes I'm getting from it, the vibes I'm getting is like they were supposed to do something that they weren't able to do, because even though they may have been in a trance, like a drunken trance, or under an emotionally charged situation, or possibly a spell, and stay with me on this, their hearts, like the pureness of their hearts, wouldn't allow them to execute the task the way it needed to be executed. Because I just can't make a straight path. Like it's a part of the story that's really missing. Unless somebody's gonna come on the stand and testify that Meg was in a car and like Meg is a whole dude for real. Like she not really a female, she a whole brolic dude on the low that nobody knows about, and she was in that car molly whopping everybody on some. He was in fear of his life. Like, she was beating him up so bad that he was like, "Yo, this chick could kill me." Like, unless someone can bring out some testimony that could lead me down that path, like she was so enraged that she was the threat in the situation, it's hard for me to believe. Like, it's 3-on-1 with a whole bodyguard or a driver, and a woman and a whole man fighting one woman. Like, it is like, and you really needed a gun. Like, who are you fighting? The Rock? Like, it just, it don't add up, you know. And then and then it's like, well, if we believe that they both was taking turns, like it was like pew pew pew, I pew pew, now you pew pew, on some old, like, let's scare the Jesus out of her, or let's put the fear of God in Meg. It's almost like you wanted to go out there and put the fear of God in her, but then you got mad at her because, remember, Kelsey says she hasn't spoken to Meg since the incident that basically Meg curved her. So you, allegedly, there's a witness that said you pulled a whole weapon on your friend, and now you're confused about why your friend is not speaking to you anymore. It almost is like, were you in a trance? Were you transfixed? Like, you don't remember what happened? Like, do you really not remember what happened? Because once you came out from that transfixed situation you was in, you like, oh, I know I did something wrong, but I can't quite understand what was done or what wasn't done. Something about it is real unclean in the milk, very unclean in the milk. And mostly because Kelsey is holding a grudge against Meg as if she didn't shoot her, according to Sean Kelly. It don't add up. And then you got Tory, who's running around town basically intimidating, allegedly intimidating every witness that takes the stand. Kelsey talking about she gotta go throw up. Meg talking about she has suicidal ideations. It's just like, well, what is going on here? What is going on here? Like, what is really going on here? Like, are they trying to, and now they're talking about introducing Tory Lanez rap lyrics into the fold. And that could get really interesting because some people believe that, oh, this is just my art, it's my creativity. But you fail to believe that the things you say in your music, the things that you go around saying, you gonna put hits on people, you rob people, you a thug, you a murderer, you a illa. You go around saying all of that stuff, and they come back to bite you, snap in the tail when you go inside of the court of law. And so now, I those are the questions I have. Like, what really went down in that car? What were they really arguing about? Because for you to want to take somebody out, it's over money, or it's over somebody sleeping with somebody else. But the fact that Kelsey sat there and asked Meg if she was good after the whole thing went down also is weird to me. Like, her posture, it wasn't giving fear, and that to me is. And then she's saying, "Help! 911, Tory shot Meg." Speculative, very speculative. And now the question becomes, will Tory walk on reasonable doubt? Is there enough here? Is there enough meat and potatoes here to say that Tory Lanez is not guilty of these crimes under the guise of reasonable doubt? And my gut feeling on this is there is a lot of evidence that points to inconclusive as to who pulled the weapon. You have the fingerprints being predominantly female. You have gunpowder being found on Kelsey. You have Kelsey saying she doesn't want to incriminate herself. You have Kelsey saying she's inconclusive about the night. You have Kelsey backing out of her original statements from 2-3 years ago. A lot of things are pointing toward Kelsey until Sean Kelly comes into play, who pointed completely, almost entirely, that Tory had something to do with it, including Kelsey. So I don't know. I'm thinking there's enough possible reasonable doubt here for them to not get him on some of the charges. I do think they will get him on operating having an unregistered firearm in his possession. I do think they're going to get him on a gun charge, but I'm not sure that he's going to get the other charges because it's just too much. It's too much chaos being introduced in the situation, almost to the point where I'm like, are they all in on it? Are they all trying to help this man get off? Did Meg intentionally go on the Gayle King show and lie about having an intimate relationship with Tory so that her character could be called into question in court and she could be possibly perceived as a liar? Like, are they all trying to cover up what happened after the fact? Like, is this conspiracy after the fact amongst all of them? Like, I don't, maybe Meg, like, I want my career back. I just want to be accepted back into society. I don't want to be blackballed from the industry. Like, I just want to have what I had back. And so now I'm willing to just be like, yo, let's just get this over with. Like, I didn't even press charges. You know what I'm saying? The state picked this up. Just saying, and then maybe behind the scenes, they are all working together. Like, yo, Kelsey, get on the stand and just act confused about the whole night. Like, if they don't show you written proof of what you said, just pretend you don't remember or you don't know. And, just throw all kind of chaos into the situation. That's a possible theory too. I feel like, the fact that I can literally sit here and come up with three possible scenarios to one incident only goes to prove the inconclusiveness of the night, the inconsistencies of the night, the mass confusion of the night, and how it's too many holes and too many gaps in the story for us to come to a linear conclusion. And in that regard, I think he may walk on some of these charges. I do. I honestly do. But I will be sticking around for the verdict to see, like, who did what and why and what's going to happen. Is Tory going to take the stand? Is Tory going to get on the stand and allow his entire music career to be put on display, his tattoos to be interrogated, what he said 2 weeks ago to be brought to the forefront? And that's the part of the criminal justice system that really gets me all pumped up and excited, because it's like, something so simple that you could say on Twitter or an Instagram or a reel you can make or a community post. Like, you could say something, you could be reposting a lyric from one of your favorite artists or doing anything, and that one little thing you did could be used against you in a court of law to prove you to be like a felonious murderer, like that one little thing. And so you have to be mindful. You have to be very mindful of what you say and how you say it, because it could all turn around on you faster than you know. Faster than you know. So that's where I am on it. I am on still, I stick to my original live on this. I think there's too much reasonable doubt. I think he won't get all the charges. I think Kelsey better be careful because she's walking a fine line of perjury. I think they're going to, when they go back at Sean Kelly, redirect, cross, I think they're going to question a lot of his testimony in terms of what was your real visibility like? Had you been drinking that night? What did your son see? Why didn't you record what you saw? Like, if you had your phone enough to call 911, we live in record everything you see culture. Did you record anything? Why didn't you record? Like, where are the other neighbors? Why didn't they hear this melee? Like, what was the surrounding environment like? Did we knock on other doors to see if anybody else saw or heard anything? And honestly, if I was in the community, you think I would be coming forward talking about I know what went down outside? Nope. I don't want nobody to come knocking on my door, peeking through my window, talking about what you know and how you know it. You don't know how people get down when their freedom on the line. Nobody ain't trying to go to jail. They've been and got rid of all the witnesses. The fact that Sean Kelly is out here laying low, he might have been in Witsat. He might have been in, excuse me. He might have been in full blown witness protection. But time will tell, and I definitely want to hear from you guys in the comment section as to whether or not you think Tory Lanez is going to walk, or do you think he's going to catch a charge here? Because I definitely want to hear from you guys in the comment section. So make sure you leave one. Thank you, Linlika, for dropping down in the chat with your question. And I hope you guys enjoyed the live. I don't stay long. I just come in to give my quick opinion and bounce. And I'll talk to you guys next time. Have a good night. Bye.